Video.
All right, good afternoon, Ridge Point Church. Welcome to the mix. This is the Lone Ranger edition. Normally, I'm joined by Chris Neff, and we have back behind the camera our executive producer Josh Willis. But today they're not with us. I'll get to that in just a little bit about Josh. But we kind of had a busy weekend. We had a lot that was going on. So today we kind of took a day to chill, spend some time with the family. Kids were off from school. We got some work done, some different things, preparing for a future sermon series and whatnot. But so the mix today is a little bit different. Chris isn't with me. It's the Lone Ranger edition. But we want to be able to share some information about what's coming up at Ridge Point Church and also dive in a little bit deeper into what the message was about as we hit on week 4, a huge week of finding your way back to God. So really excited about that. But as we get ready to kind of launch into this, yesterday was a really big deal. We had a lot of stuff that was happening. Week 4, I loved the topic of awakening to the idea of love in our life, and that's difficult for a lot of us to grasp because of the shame and all of that. But during yesterday, we also had the band lead us in an incredible song. I'm always humbled by the love and the passion, the creativity of the creative people that attend Ridge Point Church. But yesterday they knocked it out of the park with the video that was kind of produced and put behind the band, and it was such a powerful song, and they did a great job in leading us in that song. And I love the way the church responded to it. So that happened yesterday morning. Then last night at Status, we shared a lot of exciting information. I know a lot of people weren't able to be there for Status, not necessarily able to be there on a Sunday night. So we recorded that. We'll be sharing that soon. But just sharing some events, some things that are coming up, and some things I'm really excited heading, especially into 2018. I love being able to have each of our staff members up there to be able to share the vision. And then Michael did a great job kind of finishing up the night, celebrating communion around that vision. So thank you for everyone who took part in that. I literally left both yesterday morning and last night emotional in tears just at the depth of God's love for us. And especially for me last night, communion was really powerful. So again, thank you for all who participated. Really, really cool thing. So since Josh isn't here with us today, as our executive producer, I am privileged to have my daughter actually behind the camera, making sure I don't make any mistakes as I go through this thing, but then also making sure I look as good as I can possibly look on camera. So Karen, thank you for doing that. She's laughing at me right now, but that's all okay. But speaking of Josh as our executive producer, we mentioned this last week. We want to share this again. We're looking for a creative name for him. As he's the producer of the mix, exactly what role he has can play into the name. So if you have a creative name, sometimes you see producers on radio shows and TV shows that have these silly names. So we want to give Josh a crazy creative name for the work that he does on this. So if you want, just a comment underneath of the video and give him a name, or hit me or Chris up maybe in private if you don't want to share what that is, because in the next month we won't be able to give him a name as our executive producer. So coming up here at Ridge Point Church, we have a lot of stuff that's coming. Trunk or Treat's right around the corner. But one thing we're focusing on this week, and that is this coming Friday night. It feels like we've been talking about this forever, but this coming Friday night is the Bloodhound Barbecue. We're so excited. We have a DJ that's going to be there that night. We're going to be playing some music and really having a fun, festive atmosphere. This is our 10th annual Bloodhound Barbecue. So that is coming up this coming Friday night. We have a bunch of volunteers signed up. It's not that we necessarily need volunteers, but we still love to have volunteers just to add to the festive atmosphere, to be able to hang out, get to know some of the teachers and staff at Auburndale High School. Again, we have games going to be set up. We're going to be giving away t-shirts. We're going to be giving away some prizes. And then as many people as possible, we want you to be able to go into the game. If you have one of the shirts, we're wearing our new green Life is Better Together t-shirts. We'd love for you to wear them and have a sea of green going into Auburndale High School this coming Friday night. We have 2 shifts, one going from 4:45 to 6:15, and the other going from 6 to 7:30. We have pretty good representation in both. If anything, we might need some more help setting up early on. But we have pretty good volunteers for both of those time slots now. But if you want to help out, simply email me, jj@ridgepointchurch.org, and we'll get you on the list and get you all the information out. 2 things that I want to go into as we get into the message portion of this. And no, ultimately, when we created the mix, the purpose was sometimes there's stuff that we want to go deeper into during the message that simply time doesn't allow, or maybe it's not the right forum. But I love that side of it, being able to kind of dig down deeper into the message. And yesterday in particular, at the end of the first service, I was getting really excited. I was getting pumped up. And as we were kind of sharing the information, I realized at the end of the first service, I forgot even to mention what the big idea was. Every week we kind of try to do a big idea. And the big idea yesterday was the shame of sin is erased by our embrace of grace. Kind of earlier I'd mentioned this idea that we can't change our past, but God can change our future. And so many times because of the mistakes we make, we live in shame, we live in guilt. And because of that, we find ourselves to be unlovable. But the shame of sin is often erased once we realize that God's grace is rich, it's powerful. And so the shame of my sin is erased by my embrace of grace. And so right in the midst of whatever calamities we're dealing with, right in the midst of all the mistakes that we've made, God comes running to us with this embrace of grace. You want to go tell him real quick? So sorry, we had a little bit of interruption. That's what happens when you go live at your house. But God's grace is rich, it's real, it's extravagant. And so God's grace is there for us. And once our shame of sin is erased by the embrace of that grace. But one thing that I didn't get a chance to share that I wanted to go a little bit deeper in the message yesterday, I mentioned this, was that every part of the story that Jesus shared in the story of the prodigal son has significance. And I think sometimes when we get to that last part of the journey where the son comes home, and it's such an awesome, inspiring scene where the father starts to restore the son, and we think about the word choices that he has. But we don't think about the gifts that are given. And even the gift choices that the father gives to the son, each one of those is significant as well. He begins by giving him the finest robe that he had. And when he gives him the robe, he's showing him that there is full love and acceptance being offered back to him. The son had come and said, "Father, I am not worthy, I don't deserve this. Just treat me as one of your hired servants and I'd be fine." But the father says, "No, when I give you the robe in Jesus' culture was a symbol of love and acceptance. It was often provided from the father to the older son. But in this case, he offers it to the younger son, the prodigal, and he says, "Listen, by me giving you this robe, I'm giving you a sign of full love and acceptance." The second gift that he receives is also a significant gift, and that gift is the gift of a ring. And the ring was a symbol of two things. The ring was first in their society, it was a symbol of acceptance, and secondly, it was a symbol of authority. And so the father, by giving it to the son, he says, "I know that you've made mistakes, but I'm now in the process of restoring you. And as I restore you, I'm giving this as a symbol of the affection that I still have for you. There's no animosity. There's no shame. I don't want to guilt you into anything. And so by presenting you with this, I'm showing you affection, but I'm also showing that there's a certain amount of sonship that comes with it, that comes with authority." And so he says, "I'm giving you this ring as a symbol of affection and of authority." And the final gift he gives him is that of sandals. Now, it's interesting to note that just by deduction, by deducing what takes place there, the son is probably coming home totally destitute. He doesn't even have shoes for his feet. Now, in Jesus' culture, it was only the servants that would walk around with no shoes on. And so when he comes and he says, "Father, I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants." If the father were going to do that, he would have left him shoeless, sandalless. But instead he says, "Now by giving you shoes, I am totally restoring you with acceptance, with affection, with authority. I'm giving you everything to give you full rights as my son." He's saying, no longer are you going to be viewed as the prodigal who's run away. Never am I going to view you as a servant who's a hired hand at my house. But I'm restoring you with affection. I'm restoring you with acceptance. I'm restoring you with authority. I'm giving you full rights as my child. And it's so significant because as we go through this journey of discovering what it means to genuinely follow Jesus, he does, when we come running back to the Father, he does the very same thing for us. The best robe has been placed upon you, a demonstration of the Father's complete approval of you. The ring has been placed upon your hand, representing the riches that is given to us in Christ. And finally, sandals have been placed upon our feet, showing that we have received full sonship and all of the benefits that are rewarded to us because of that. It's not so much that we deserve it, because in reality we don't. Our sin has separated us from an eternally loving Father, but a holy Father. But when we return to Him, He comes running, and He says, upon that return, it doesn't matter how much we've messed up. It doesn't matter how many mistakes we've made or the depth of those mistakes. He says all of those things don't matter, but when you return, I'm giving you the best robe. I'm giving you the ring. I'm giving you the sandals to show you that I'm giving you acceptance. I'm giving you affection. I'm giving you authority. I'm giving you the full rights as my child. It's often hard because of shame to accept that. It is. And even when we've been journeying in this journey of following Christ for some time, the depths of that love can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. We're on this journey of finding our way back to God, and the challenge for us, and I really hit home with this at the last point of the message yesterday. The challenge is that in the midst of our rediscovery of this journey back to God, two things. It affects the way that I respond to my Father. He's run to me, now I want to respond. I want to run to Him with arms outstretched. But also, our God is a God of unlimited resources. And to realize that all that we have can be given us so many more. And that once we have that acceptance ourselves, we want to see others bask in the same affection, the same acceptance, the same authority. And so here's our challenge as we get ready to wrap this thing up. Next week, we finish out the series with Awakening to Life, with an exclamation mark afterwards. This is going to be a super big deal. We all have people that we know that need to awaken to what life is all about. We're going to have a big party. We're going to have a big celebration. We're going to be doing some special things to wrap up the series. And so I want to challenge you specifically this week, not only to be there next Sunday for that celebration, but also to invite a mess of people to come with you to say, man, we're about to have a party at church. This thing's going to be awesome. Join us as we finish up this, for me, what has been a monumental series, finding our way back to God. We're in the process of not only doing that ourselves, but helping others rediscover their purpose as well. So thank you for joining us for The Mix. We'd love to see you this Sunday, 9 or 10:45.